Hey, how's it going, guys, and welcome back. So for those that don't know, a new fan Pokemon game is in the works called Pokemon Burning Colosseum, which is a pixel art Pokemon Colosseum remake with newer gen Pokemon, and it looks pretty epic. That said, and this actually ends up working out quite nicely, I had been planning a video talking about my thoughts on whether or not we should get an officially licensed Pokemon Colosseum and or XD remake, and what that may or may not entail. With the new fan game in the works and discussions starting to brew, I figured this was the perfect time to put out a video like this. Alright, so quick introduction. Pokemon Colosseum and XD for that matter were spin-off titles of the Pokemon franchise and in some ways acted like a pivotal successor to the Pokemon Stadium games. These games featured the first 386 Pokemon, all available for the first time in 3D, and even allowed the player to connect their Game Boy Advance to import their Gen 3 teams and utilize them in battle. The game featured a lot less intricacy than Stadium in terms of the battle simulator aspect, with it not featuring a nice list of mons to choose from like the Stadium games did, nor did it feature any mini-games, but it did feature its own story mode, situated in a new region with new characters to both befriend and defeat. It also featured a much darker tone than your typical Pokemon title, which was nice as well. Now, I'm going to be using mostly Pokemon Colosseum as a basis for my video instead of XD, as it is one of my most familiar games, with me having beaten it like 5 times as a kid, and because it works in the context of both the fan game and what you'd expect to be remade first. So in Colosseum, you play as an ex-Team Snag'em member, Team Snag'em being a ruthless organization of thugs that utilize special tech, allowing for the capture of other people's Pokemon. And this person that you play as, aka Wes, is introduced storming the hideout, blowing it up, and stealing the coveted snag machine with this very sinister grin. A lot of people have phrased this scene as Wes disagreeing with Team Snag'em and wanting to steal the machine for good, but as a kid, and I still even see it this way today, I'm pretty sure Wes just wanted the machine for himself. I think that you as the player character over time was supposed to go from this bad guy to this good guy after seeing what Cypher and Team Snag'em are doing, but that's just me. Anyways, basically there's also, as I mentioned, an organization called Cypher that is turning Pokemon into shadow Pokemon, which is this phenomena that involves blocking off their hearts and makes them basically into merciless killing machines, and it's also supposed to make them stronger. Anyways, the game's not super long, but it's definitely a fun adventure, allowing you to also fill up your national decks in the Gen 3 games, because there are Pokemon that weren't available during the time due to limitations present between Gen 2 and 3, and all in all, it was just a good time. The battle scenes were really nice, with a dynamic Pokemon Stadium style camera, great animations, making the people feel alive and vibrant, and you could see where the love was put into these games. Despite the fact that a lot of Pokemon were only available via the GBA to GameCube connector thingy, the devs still went out of their way to model and animate all 386 Pokemon, giving them far more expression than we see in modern Pokemon on the Switch. Now, this all leads into my point regarding whether or not we even want an official remake of these games, and for me, this all depends on who's handling it and whether or not they decide to make it a quote-unquote main series game, or just a spin-off like it was before. Between Sword and Shield, and to an even larger extent BDSP, it's very obvious that these games require more time to be developed, but are still being developed within the same time, leading to time constraints and overall a general feeling of rushedness. BDSP especially is a buggy mess, with a lot of inherent issues and a lack of meaningful content. If you want to contest this, be my guest, but the fact is that BDSP objectively has less content than Pokemon Platinum, and that should say it all. Diamond and Pearl were not great games. Platinum really fixed that generation, and modeling the remakes off of the worst game is a foolish endeavor in my opinion that seems like it was just to be more marketable. Either way, the point I'm trying to make is if these remakes got counted as mainstream titles, they'd be put in the same development hell, where the most important thing is pushing out the game at a specific time rather than making sure that they're going to be received positively. Now, I personally don't think the remakes would be pushed as main series titles given how they play, but if the games were to be given to Game Freak or Ilka, then I think we could safely say they'd be faithful remakes, no new Pokemon added, no expansion to the lore, probably utilizing recycled models from X and Y, Sun and Moon, BDSP, Sword and Shield, etc., poor scaling, and maybe even forced XP share and affection, because that is the pattern in which we've seen. I personally don't want this. I've lost a lot of faith that we will get remakes as they once were, this new take on an already existing product, and if the remakes were pumped out to be exactly as they were on the GameCube, it begs the question, why even bother remaking it? How is that advantageous to a remaster? Even with BDSP, I'd rather have had a Platinum remaster with perhaps some updated mechanics, and assuming they still have the source code for Colosseum, it would be better than downgrading certain aspects of the game in my opinion. Now, given Nintendo's track record of charging full price on first-party remasters whilst other game companies companies will typically charge less. I do think a port or a remaster would end up being kind of overpriced. And one issue that comes to mind is how the connectivity would work. Would they cut all the Pokemon that weren't available native in Colosseum? Or would they allow the games to connect with Pokemon Home? If it's a port or remaster, you'd of course expect the first 386. I'm not too sure on that. It would be pretty cool if they added online battles though, as a way to sort of circumvent the multiplayer. Now, what would I really want to see if they did remake Colosseum? So this is going to be highly contingent upon who remakes it and whether or not they're given proper time. I mean, resources should be adequate considering the amount of money Pokemon games are getting on Switch, but if time is also adequate, I'd like to see the following. An expanded Pokedex, ideally all of the Pokemon. In fact, I plan on making a video about why Pokemon Stadium or Pokemon Battle Revolution should make a return to the Switch to potentially fix the National Dex problem by having its own online mode with various competitive modes and a full roster and stuff like that, but that's neither here nor there. I'd also like to see character redesigns, make them sort of updated for the current year, Pokemon scaling, the camera, new shadow encounters, maybe some expanded areas and perhaps access to wild Pokemon, some expansions to the lore, stuff like that. They could also update the battle mechanics so you have like a special physical split, fairy type, future gen abilities, stuff like that as well. Basically, you could sum this up by giving the games the remake standard that was originally created by Pokemon, by games like Fire Red and Leaf Green, by games like Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And it's funny because we don't know a whole lot about this fan recreation that I mentioned earlier, but we do know that there is going to be new Shadow Pokemon, and it seems like the developer is really trying to both capture what Pokemon Colosseum was whilst also adding to it, which is something that I believe is very important when remaking a game. But anyways, those were just my thoughts. Basically, I guess you can sum it up as either do it right or don't do it at all. But let me know what you guys think. I'm personally really excited for Burning Colosseum, but the prospect of an official remake is definitely an interesting one and one that I have a lot of mixed feelings on. If you did enjoy the video, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel. You could also follow me on Twitter, GymLeaderEd, and check out my Discord, all links below. Special thanks to our patrons, especially Jim Hamilton and Steel Case, our mythical backers, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.